Alright, in this second video here we are going to add a few effects to start enhancing the age of our picture. So first thing we want to do is we want to finish up making the young version look as good as we can. So I already went back, I finished the refining of the mask here, so you can see my selections look great now. I'm really well cut out off the back here. It looks natural, looks clean. This is your opportunity. Say you have a pimple that you want to get rid of. You can take spot healing or the healing brush, the clone stamp, any of those, and kind of get rid of any little imperfections. I'm getting rid of freckles just to show you this. You know, obviously I don't really have anything here I need to get rid of, but if you have anything you want to mess with, by all means go ahead. So I could zoom in really when I'm doing this too, would make this a lot easier. Say I wanted to get rid of that. You just can kind of paint over that with spot healing. You can clone things out. You can use, you know, any of those tools that we looked at for photo restoration stuff to make the before look however you want it to look. The other thing I want to do while I'm in here is I want to mess with the coloring on this photo. I want to adjust this. So first thing I'm going to do is let's try some of the automatic stuff. So I went to image at the top, and I'm going to do auto tone, auto contrast, and auto color. I don't really like the auto color one, so in my case I'm going to undo that. Now everybody's picture is different, so you might have seen more drastic changes when you went through those. If you don't like those, you don't have to keep them. Another change that I did was a levels adjustment. That's not something we've really learned yet, but if you want to play with it, you can go to image, adjustment, levels. And really for what you guys are doing right now, I already adjusted this on mine, so I can't drag these in more, but you would basically just tuck these two outer ones in a little bit. What that does is that determines how many pixels on your screen are black, this left one. This right one determines how many pixels on your screen are white. So as I move this over, more of the pixels in this project, every pixel, if you zoomed in on a little spot, even though if the skin all looks like it's one color, when you zoom in, you'll notice every pixel is a different color. As I move these things over, more and more of these pixels are white. The main one you guys are going to want to adjust, though, if you tuck these in just slightly on each side, is this center one here. This determines kind of where the medium color is. So I just kind of brighten mine up a little bit. So I'm going to cancel that for mine. But if you want to play with that levels, if you feel like it looks any better after you mess with that, great. Again, we will look at that later in this project, those levels adjustments. So anyway, there I'm at there. I got the young one. I'm happy with that. Now what we're going to do in this video is we are going to do two things. We're going to make the teeth have a little bit of a stain to them. Reason that happens, whether it's coffee, tobacco, soda, food, anything like that is going to stain your teeth over time. So chances are pretty much every old person, whether you smoke or drink coffee or what, even if you don't do any of those things, you're still going to get stains on your teeth over the course of 60, 80 years. And we're going to do that kind of subtly like that you see here. You don't want it to look like the teeth are like bright yellow or brown or ready to fall out of your head. You just want a slight amount of stain on them. In fact, I could probably even drop this down a little bit further on mine. So that looks a little more natural there. You would want it where when you're looking at the picture initially, you don't even notice anybody did anything, but when you turn it off, then you can see the effect. The other thing we're going to do in this video, we are going to add some aging like this. What happens over time, you tend to put on weight. You tend to kind of have some skin begin sagging down, and we'll kind of look at that in a moment. And your ears and nose kind of continue growing throughout your whole life. So I'll show you how we're going to do that now. So this will be the first effect that we do, and then later in the video we will do the teeth. Alright, so first thing we want to do. You have this young layer that you created. You obviously don't have these layers yet. We're going to make those now. So right click on this young layer and go duplicate layer. I'm going to call this one old. Now the old one comes with our mask. Young also has the mask. We're going to leave young alone. But old, what I want to do is I want to apply this mask. So you can kind of see here the difference between this layer that I did and this one here that we just duplicated. Still has the mask, the background's still here, and this one the background's totally gone. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to right click on the mask and go apply layer mask. That actually deletes those pixels that were on the outside that we were hiding a moment ago. Now they're just totally gone in the old layer. The reason I did that, as we make these ears bigger and the cheeks wider and everything, if it was still working off of this mask that we created, when I make the cheeks wider, it would hide those portions that we made wider because of the mask. So anyway, that's kind of why we did that, if that makes sense. So now we want to go ahead and start messing with this picture. We are going to go to Filter. So again, I'm on this layer that I just created, that I applied the mask to, and I'm going to go Filter, Liquify. First thing I want to do is I want to zoom in, so I'm going to switch this zoom tool at the bottom in here. And if I click, it zooms in. If I hold Option and click, zooms out. I want to be looking at this fairly close like this, so I can really see what I'm working with. Alright, I can't tell you a size that we're going to use for these tools because all these tools kind of work like brushes here. You can see the circle. Here's the brush size, so I can't tell you to use 200 for yours because everybody's picture is different. So you're going to have to kind of figure out on your own what size to use these things. I'll try to give you some clues as I go, but you're going to kind of be on your own with some of that. So first thing I want to do is let's work on the ears. I would say this brush is actually a pretty good size for the ear here, so maybe about half the size of my ear. And what I'm looking to do is I want to drag the ear down a little bit. Now as I do this, I want to grab it in a couple different spots here because I want to make sure that I'm not just grabbing this earlobe here, but I also want to kind of stretch some of this cartilage here. I'm going to stretch this up a little bit and out just slightly. Again, less is more with this stuff. I don't want it to look fake. I don't want it to look like Dumbo all of a sudden with giant ears. I just want this to look natural. And the main spot I want to move is down the bottom here. Now, let's say you felt like you were hitting the skin on the face too much. There are two tools down here we can use to kind of protect areas as we're working here. You'll see me use these occasionally. The freeze tool and the thaw tool. When you freeze a section by painting it red, if I were to make changes now to the ear with these tools, this red part would not be affected. When I'm done, I thaw that area out if I later want to go back and make any changes to that spot. So you might see me using that throughout this video. That's what I'm doing. I'm freezing sections so I don't accidentally mess with that part. And then when I'm done and I want to mess with that portion, I thaw it out so I can change it. So the ears are slightly bigger again. I'm just doing that a little bit, keeping it kind of natural. The next thing I'm going to do is let's do this kind of chin neckline area here and cheeks and kind of puff all that out so that we're putting on a little bit of weight. I'm going to make my brush bigger because if I go with this size, it's going to look kind of like too spotty, too pointed. It won't blend with the rest of the face. It'll look like I tugged on it with something. So I'm going to go kind of bigger here. Something along the size here is good. I want to grab bigger chunks of this picture at a time, and I'm just tugging them just that little bit. So I'm going out and down a little bit. Reason for that, gravity is kind of pulling on this a little bit, and most likely you're going to gain weight as you age. I believe the figure on average is something like 10 pounds every decade people gain. So I'm just kind of pulling this out a little bit. Again, nothing too crazy here. If you're messing up, to say you're wearing like a hoodie or some kind of shirt that keeps getting messed up as you tug on these parts, that's easy enough. Just freeze wherever your shirt is. Oops, I'm on the thaw here. Just freeze wherever you need to protect on your shirt. So I'm just kind of painting that area there. Let's say I kept messing that part up. Now I can go and do my thing here. And then when I'm done, again, I would just thaw that out. Alright, so I've done the chin. I'm going to keep moving now. I'm going to go a little bit smaller here. I'm going to do a little bit to the neck as well. Again, my thought process here, a little too small, is that your neck skin gets kind of flabbier and sags as you get older, so you're going to kind of drop this down a little bit. Now your Adam's apple would move if you're a gentleman. Any of these like hard bone structures kind of stay where they're at. And then here you can kind of see where I tugged out a little bit, so I just kind of want to blend that a little bit. See how my neckline's a little bit straighter now? Kind of just looks a little more natural. Alright, when I made the ear bigger, this kind of stayed where it was, and same deal, when I tugged the cheek, that kind of brought it out even more. So you see I have a little bit of a depression in here. So I'm just going to kind of on mine pull this, and everybody's is different. If you don't see your ears in the picture, obviously you won't have done this part. So I'm just kind of trying to make this look natural. Other things I want to do, I want to drop down the soft tissue portions of my face. Bone structure doesn't change. Like I wouldn't change the cheekbones, but the soft tissue, wherever it's like meaty, would kind of hang down a little bit. I'm just gently kind of tugging at this. Now the smile lines, the lines from like here to here and here to here, they would kind of become a little more pronounced and kind of sag a little bit too. So I'm just kind of gently doing that. And again, the key here, it's much better to look like you didn't do anything than to look like you did way too much. This tissue here would also sag, so I'm going to kind of grab this without making it look like I'm really moving my eyebrows much. I'm just kind of tucking that in a little bit. Again, it may not totally make sense yet, but once you start getting some wrinkles and things on here, that will help with these effects. So again, my eyes still kind of look natural. I don't want it to kind of change the entire shape of my eye. Just trying to kind of take some of this tissue here and just kind of dropping it all down. Alright, your nose also grows as you age. Your nose and your ears continue growing throughout your whole life. Anything cartilage like that keeps growing. So I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger than my nose. That's a little too much. And the tool that I'm going to use is called the bloat tool. It's over here on the side. It's the fourth one from the top. I'm just going to click and let go with this tool. If I drag, it's going to do too much. And again, I'm trying to be subtle here, but I'm just increasing the size of that nose a little bit. And that's way more than enough. That's good there. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with all of that. I'm just kind of looking it over to see if there's anything else I want to mess with. I think I'm good with that. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now you can see again, here's that layer we just did. Whoops. I'm going to turn on the young so I can see the difference. So you can see those subtle changes that I made. I just basically sagged down any soft tissue, made the nose and ears bigger, added a little bit of weight to myself, and made the kind of neck a little bit lower as well, because again that skin would be sagging down. So now what we want to do is we want to work on the teeth real fast, and that'll be the end of this video. So what we're going to do, we are going to create a solid adjustment layer, solid color adjustment layer. To do that, in my layers window, I'm going to click on the adjustment layer button here, the black and white circle, and go to solid color. I'm going to pick a color that I think will work for the teeth, so like a yellowish brownish kind of thing. Here's this layer I just created. It comes with a mask. That mask is totally white. Because that mask is white, it's covering the whole picture. If I flip-flop this mask so that it's black instead of white, then this color won't be applied anywhere yet. So that's what I want to do. I have this mask clicked on. I'm going to do Command I. That inverts that. So now what was white was black. Well, in this case, the whole thing was white, so the whole thing is now black. Next, I'm going to zoom in on the teeth. I'm going to use my brush tool, and I'm going to paint white onto this mask right here to make this color show. And as I do this over top of the whole thing, eventually I will get this type of thing going on. So let's see, this is what yours would look like when you're done coloring, something like this. And then what I want to do is obviously I want to blend this in like you saw in the finished project there. So I'm going to change the blending mode. This is going to allow us to see through these colored pixels into what's behind there. I'm going to change this from normal to most likely multiply is going to work best. You could try some different ones though if multiply doesn't look good to you. And you can see right now this effect looks good. It's just way too much. It looks like my teeth are ready to fall out of my head. I'm going to drop that opacity down to around 25 to 30%. Just so that it's like not even noticeable, but when I turn it off then you realize there is definitely a distinct stain on there. So that's kind of the end of this video. So again, it was a solid color adjustment layer, and we liquefied a copy of our picture to kind of add some age to our face. In the next videos, we'll look at wrinkles and hair and some of those things.